Since I've had my driving licence from the age of 17, I've spent upwards of £6 million on cars over the years. So when I heard the average person in the UK will own 10 cars in their lifetime, I thought, that's strange. I bought 10 cars just in the last year. So I looked up signs that I may have a car buying addiction. Impulse purchases? Doesn't sound like me. I've accidentally bought a car, signed on the dotted line, and the car was officially mine. Financial strains? Nah.
£548,000, £994.
Extreme highs? My brand new Porsche Taycan Turbo S, followed by instant regret? It's sold. And then I counted how many cars I've owned in my lifetime. And then it clicked. I think I do have a problem. They say the first step is to talk about it. Right, let's do this. If you've been following me a while, you'll all know that my first ever car was a Ford Fiesta 1.1L B-Reg. And I always say the L was for like loser, because I wanted an XR2i, couldn't afford one. I actually put pepper pot wheels onto my 1.1L to make it look like an XR2, and on the back window, I put the XR2 Touch. Yes, I know, I'm sure we all cringe when we see someone do it on a BMW that's a 320, they make it an M3, which it's not. But when you're young, you can't afford things, that is what you do. And straight after that, I bought a Renault 19 16 valve phase 2. This car I didn't have very long. I actually wrote it off. I was speeding, I was being stupid. I crashed into 2 different cars. Yeah, I had 2 of my friends with me. Not only did I have a car accident, luckily no one was injured. I actually got banned for driving for 12 months. They done me for dangerous driving. Yeah, it was a bad time. I think I was like 19 at the time. From there, I actually went BMW. I went to this, an E30. It was a 318, because I couldn't afford the 325 at the time, and obviously insurance. And on the front, it had the Cyprus flag and the Greece flag. Very typical Greek North London boy car. And I also did have a white one as well behind it, as you can see. And with that white one, I actually put a full motorsport body kit on it. That was a 316. I spent some money on cars, and I'll be honest, I probably wasted loads and loads of money, but I had so much fun. And then the obsession kicked in of doing my cars up and starting to fit big time body kits on the car. So I bought an E30 convertible. I always loved convertibles back in the day. It was just a standard BMW. I think the guy was called Robbie that I bought it from, but I needed to put the kit on it. So I spoke to one of my friends. I had a friend of mine called Panny, and I was like, Pan, I need to put a kit onto my car. And he was like, Jan, don't worry, I got you. The problem is the kit was absolute rubbish. I don't even know what it was made out of. It was, it was long before the carbon fiber days of the kits. It didn't fit well. It wasn't OEM. And this was the first car I put my number plate on, A7 bub. And again, the Cyprus there. This car was serious. This car put me on the map. Oh my God, it even had the hard top. When you have a convertible and you have a hard top, you need to put the hard top somewhere. And the problem is, it's like the top half of a car. So it's not that you can just leave it anywhere. And at my mum's house, we didn't have some massive garage. So what I did was I made 2 bars on the ceiling, and I'd put the hard top into the air, so that way then the car could drive in and out and just stay in the air. And over the winter, I'd bring it back down, put it on the car, and over the summer, I'd just leave the soft top. But if you had an E30 or an E36, it was all about having the hard top. It was like a proper flex to have a hard top, and an original one as well. And I also put the Azeves. The Azeves are the OG wheel that you were like, yeah, you were the man. This was at a time when I think I might have been working at Do It All. I think maybe at the time Do It All was like B&Q in today's time. Literally all I did was work just to buy stuff for my car. You're living at home, you didn't really have any outgoings. It was more petrol, insurance, and even then there probably wasn't even phones. I don't think there was phones back then. Again, I went to another BMW. Nowadays, we don't want to put number plates on the front of the cars, or we put the smallest. What was I thinking there? Look at the size of that front plate. And I always wanted to be different. It looks like a big tooth on the front of the car. I'll tell you a story. When I had this car, I got banned. So I remember driving it the night before and knowing I was going to court the following day. And I'm thinking, this is gonna be the last time I drive this car. They're definitely gonna ban me for the accident with the Renault 19 that I said about. I got banned for 12 months for dangerous driving. I had to retake my test, which again, I passed first time. So I passed first time originally at 17, then I passed first time again at 20. I couldn't drive the car. But this car had a Clifford alarm. You had a button called a telly start where you could start the car. You weren't supposed to fit them onto a manual car. You're only supposed to fit them in automatic. So if you leave the car in first gear or second gear, the car would jump and it jumps 3 times to start the car. And I remember I was in my house and I was like, right, got my license back now, all excited. Started the car from the inside. You hear the car fire it up and I hear bam, 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 bam. Quickly run around, get into the garage. I left it in first gear and the car jumped into the wall. So I got my license back, and as soon as I got my license back, I had to repair the car straight away. Luckily, the car was really close to the wall, so it jumped into the wall, but it hit like something on the side, so it damaged the wing. Yeah, just the things I've done over the years. And then we started going up. Now, we're getting the proper cars. E36 M3 Schnitzer. I don't actually think it was a real Schnitzer, but again, with the hardtop, it was a convertible with the hardtop. I loved having a convertible. It was something that I just always had to have. And again, I painted. Again, always in the body shop, we were painting. The paintwork wasn't great on it when I bought it, and I ended up repainting the whole car and just brought it back to life. It looked incredible, nice wheels. I remember buying this car. The guy that owned this car we'll say he was dodgy. I used to see this car driving around all the time, and one time I caught him in a petrol station. I'm like, do you want to sell the car? And he's like, actually, you know what? I need to sell the car. I need to come out of it. And he's like, yeah, I'll sell it to you. So I was like, okay. I think 2 days later I bought it. He met me in Wembley at the car wash on Preston Road. If you know, you know. And so that's where these pictures are from. This was like a serious moment to have this car. I've got no idea of order, but then I bought another M3. This M3's actually got a real cool story. It was a 4-door one. The blue wasn't really what I wanted, but I fancied a 4-door car. Again, A7 Bub was the plate that I had. That was my only plate at the time. So I actually put a PlayStation in it. I put a massive sound system in it. We put a fold-out doubled-in screen. We had screens in the headrests, but I didn't have this car long. And this is something that happened to me later on in life. Whenever I'd done a car up and I really loved it, someone would see the car and they'd want to buy it. And the person that actually bought this car off me, I remember going to an event, we were there, we were partying, and he came outside and he was like, Jan, I want your car, I'm buying your car. And I'm like, no, I'm not selling it. No, I'm buying your car. And do you know what it was? It was DJ Luck from Luck and Neat. And he was like, no, I'm buying your car, I'm buying your car. So I was like, okay, cool. I think that is where my buying the cars quick and then selling them so quick came from. And then every time I bought a car, someone would buy the car from me and I'd sell it again. But I'm jumping around. Let me go back to an older car. So I did have a Range Rover. I used to have Range Rover after Range Rover after Range Rover after Range Rover. And that's like one of the early Range Rovers. Wow, I didn't even have tints on it. Look at that. But then I must have tinted it because that's on my mum's driveway. This was a great car to have for me because it was the first car that I had sitting high. It was a big, big car. You feel like you own the roads. What was my relationship like with money then? Earn it as quick as possible and spend it on cars straight away. I was fortunate enough that I wasn't a guy that liked to drink. I didn't smoke. I wasn't into drugs. That was not my scene. So I didn't spend any money there. When my friends were going to the pubs on the weekends and they were getting drunk and they were spending an absolute fortune, I wasn't. And I always liked to drive, so I was the designated driver. So my friends loved it. They're like, Jan's coming, brilliant, he's gonna drive. Because we know he doesn't drink, so I'd drive everywhere. The big game changer in my life for me, where I had the ultimate car at the perfect time. Anyone can, for example, I'll give you an example. You can have a Gallardo in 2006 when they just come out and it was the best car ever. But to have a Gallardo now, it's still a great car, but it's not the same flex as having it when they first come out. Like having a Revuelto now it's a Revuelto, but in 10 years time, it's like, okay, well that car came out 10 years ago. My biggest flex, my biggest yes moment was my E46 M3 Schnitzer, and that was a real Schnitzer. Estel Blue, SMG gearbox rather than manual. This was special, oh my God. This car, it was in magazines. The title of the magazine was My Big Fat Greek Convertible. And I had the Yianni plate. So now I bought the Yianni plate, Y14NNY. I think when you go to the car shows, you used to have a lot of people from the magazines that'd be journalists and they'd be like, oh, we'd love to feature your car. And I was like, okay, cool. And because it was so done up and I'd spent so much money on it and there's a cool story with it, they would say to me, can we feature? And I was like, yeah. So I was fortunate enough to be featured in a lot of magazines over the years. I'm just looking now here, just to jump. I actually had a van. So my dad was in the rag trade, which is like the fashion industry. And we used to have this Nissan van. And I remember driving across, it was near Honeypot Lane, and someone pulled right out in front of me. They went for a red light and I was going for a green and I crashed straight into them. It looks like someone put something through the windscreen. I don't know what happened there. But I remember getting taken to hospital by ambulance. I was actually okay, but I think just the shock and the sheer impact. And what's interesting is look at the number plate. Hell, I should have known better. But yeah, I used to drive this around. So we'd have like rails in the back and we'd obviously put all the clothes up. So my dad was in like the fashion industry, as I said, driving around Fonthill Road, Finsbury Park, Palmer's Green. I don't even know what I was doing at the time. Was I working with my dad part-time? Still had a day-to-day job? It's so blurry. When you look back over the last 20 years, 30 years, and you're trying to piece together, you try and base it on the cars or the number plates or where you were working at the time. And I had so many jobs, I couldn't even tell you. It's not like now where you have your social media where you can go back and you can scroll through. You just got to try and piece it together and try and work out where you were at the time. Let me see what other cars there were here. Oh, I had a smart car. God knows how many smart cars over the years. At the time I had this smart car where it was satin black and chrome. That was the early days of Yiannimize. Before I had the unit, before I was Yianni from Yiannimize, where I would get the football players' cars and I would take it to different places to wrap, to put kits on, to do wheels, etc. So I remember I had the smart car and I had the Gallardo. But I did have the Porsche Cayenne Magnum, and the fact that it says Yiannimize World on the side was before Yiannimize, because I think I had Yiannimize World and I had a few other websites, and that was wrapped in green. That looks sick in green. Oh, look at that. I don't know why I left the spoiler silver though. Oh, that was a good car. That was a nice car. I really did like Cayennes back then. Obviously, you guys know me for urban, but back in the day there was Khan, who was probably the OG Range Rover, and I had a Khan Range Rover, silver with the black bonnet. It was a full Khan, so the Khan had those two exhausts coming out the back, and they had that big spoiler, looked like a shelf. I ended up getting rid of that, and then Revere came out, and I really pushed the Revere brand and put it into so many football clubs, and so many football players had the Revere brands. Their kits were great. I was one of the first people to have that kit on the car. Revere was taking over, and I'll tell you a story. Adrian Ripp was the owner of Revere at the time, and it was the early days of social media. So if you didn't understand social media, you're from a bit of a different school, shall we say, you would just find it a bit cringy or a bit, what's social media like? And Adrian would take the absolute mickey out of me, be like, oh, hi guys, it's Yianni from Yiannimize. I was like, okay. Years later, I think he had me saved in his phone as Yianni Wide Boy. And years later, you would start seeing him saying, hey guys, it's Adrian from Artec. And whenever I see him now, I still take the piss out of him and say, bro, when I was doing the social media early days, you would laugh at me, and now you're trying to replicate and you're trying to do it. And I think he might tell you that it was a mistake not partnering up with me, because I was fortunate enough that I was really in the celebrity scene and I was doing so much work on the cars. And then, as I said, I had the Gallardo, which was I remember I used to take that to the training ground. I used to take that to Arsenal training ground. And because I had that sort of car, I think it gave me a bit more respect with the football players to be like, okay, you know what? This guy, we can trust him. He's got a proper car. He's not worried about driving our cars because he owns an expensive car. And that is how I think I built my footballer client base, as well as obviously having Bakary Sagna, who introduced me to the Arsenal players at the time, and then doing Theo Walcott's cars and all the football players. But when I had the Gallardo, what a car. The fact that it was white on white, people didn't really have white cars, 18 years ago. Just going to another car, I had an Aston Martin DBS, sat in black. Again, it had the Yianni plate on. I don't think I had this car long. I think someone bought it off me. We've done it all in satin black, had the gloss black bonnet. Do you know what? I had a 360 Spider, black with cream, in 2003, I think. But then I did have a Porsche 996 as well. Do you know what? I'm just gonna have to go through some of the cars because I can't think order-wise now. I know at the time I did have the Range Rover and the Gallardo because I painted the Range Rover in white. Again, it was before Yiannimize days. It was just before Yiannimize days because I wanted both cars in Bull white, and that is why I painted the Range Rover to match the Gallardo, and that is like one of the iconic pictures that I've got of the two next to each other in a flat that I used to own, well, I still own actually, in Mill Hill. And then I repeated it, didn't I, years later with the Revolta and the Urus, again, both in white. And I did have an Overfinch Range Rover, again, wrapped in satin black. And I remember selling this car, and I was like, right, I've sold this car, guys. I need a new kit. I'm gonna buy another Range Rover. Who wants to help me out? And I don't know if I've told this story in public before. And no one wanted to do me a deal. No one wanted to like show me, I didn't want a free kit. I just wanted someone to show me some love. Like give me like 30% off a kit, 40% off a kit. I'm like, I'm gonna promote your brand. I'm gonna put it in to all the football players. I've already done it in the past with Revere. And everyone was like, yeah, I don't really want to do nothing. So I was like, okay. And then I got the email from Simon from Urban, who I didn't know. Someone said to him, listen, Yianni's looking to put a kit on the car. I think it would be good for you to put a kit into Yiann because he'll help your brand. He's big on social media. And Simon sent me an email about 10 o'clock at night. And I called him. I called him and he was like, listen, I want to give you a car. I need you to sign a contract to say that we're going to give you a car. So when you mean give me a car? He goes, we'll give you a car for 12 months to drive it around with a kit on if you promote it for us. And I was like, okay, like, I didn't have to buy a car. I've got a free car as such. He goes, just sign a contract to say that you're not going to sell the car and you'll insure it. He came and saw me here in his, like the first edition Range Rover Sport. Instantly clicked, become friends. And he was like, yeah, and just take the car. I was like, I need to sign a contract. He's like, don't worry about it. He goes, just meeting you. And that's how we built our relationship. And from that, I promoted the hell out of Urban, and Urban just went. And what Urban was, it was a great brand. It was a great product. It was a great company. It just didn't have the exposure or the fame. And I gave them the platform to go out to the masses very, very quickly. And Simon will tell you the same story. I think he's told it on Urban Uncut in the past. And that was the start of a beautiful relationship with me and Simon. And then we ended up becoming partners. And yeah, and Urban's never looked back since. And now obviously Simon has sold, I'm out as well. And yeah, we need to see what the next journey holds. But that's like a real take me down memory lane. But right, anyway, let's get back to finding cars. These are not in any sort of order. Oh look, 458. That car there, BMW E46 and my Gallardo were three real big turning points in my life because they were big cars to have at the time, and people gave you respect with regards to the car you were driving because there weren't many of these cars around. It was like, yeah, okay, wow. But that there, it was in pearl white, it was left-hand drive. I remember buying it from a friend of mine because I really wanted it. He goes, I'm not selling it, I want to buy it, I want to buy it. It was pearl white at the time, but I remember painting the wheels with like the white with the black. I remember breaking up the white here, the black there, the black there. That was a great car, great car. People obviously know me for Lambo, but I had a 458 Spider and that was in grey, look at that. It was in grey. I, again, wanted that convertible look and then wrapped it in chrome rose gold with a satin black roof. SLS convertible, grey with the red roof. I love the red roof. And then I wrapped this and people were like, what have you done to this car? I wrapped it in, I wrapped it in like a matte white with red wheels. Yeah, SLS convertible. I had an SLS coupe, a silver one that I bought from Sammy. Again, I think I wrapped that in pearl white. Oh my God, like I had the Merc, the S-Class, but it was the two-door coupe, S63 AMG, look, 2015. That'd have been brand new at the time. Let me go back, where was the thing? My God, the Porsche Taycan. Remember the Porsche Taycan? Turbo S that I had? I did one charge on that and then I sold it straight away. It was so fast. I remember taking the team out and we were driving and I was showing them what it was like, and it was like the early days of real electric power, and yeah, that was fast, the Porsche. Oh, I did have a Luma. Is that my Luma? I always liked two cars. I always wanted a sports car and a 4x4, and I've kept that throughout the years. Yeah, Luma Cayenne. I actually forgot about that because I showed you the Magnum Porsche, but I forgot about that Luma Cayenne. Yeah, look at the three exhausts on the back. They both had three exhausts on the back. Ah, the early days of the Urban. I must have had 20 Range Rovers over the years, maybe more. And I'm, touch wood, I'm fortunate enough, I've been okay. But over the years, Range Rovers have been bulletproof for me. They've been great. Satin chrome blue. Oh, sexy that was. So good. Urban kits were so good. Oh my God, they were incredible. Look, another one, another Urban there. Was that the Vogue? Yeah, that was the Vogue. But yeah, Range Rover after Range Rover after Range Rover. Oh God, yeah, I had like the BMW X6. That was quite recent, the BMW X6 from BMW Park Lane. I had an X4M. Comp, the original Range Rover there, look at that. That was in satin silver, satin chrome silver. 996 Turbo S cab in polar silver. So the dashboard was all Alcantara and I'd done it in like a blue. The problem is it'd give me a headache because it would leave like a shadow on the windscreen. And when you're driving, all you can see is this shadow. It would just give me an absolute headache. But that was in Amsterdam with the Tech Heart wheels. I put the Tech, it wasn't a full Tech Heart, but I put Tech Heart wheels and Tech Heart vents on the side. Oh. Yes, and then I think afterwards I put a GT2 front bumper. To think later on in life, I'm still doing stupid things to the cars, even though it wasn't a GT2, but the GT2 front bumper set out wider and you had the grille between the front bumper and the bonnet. That was a great car. That car used to belong to Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. If you're into football, you'll know who that is. I bought Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's car, I bought Thierry Henry's car. I've actually got the logbook for Thierry Henry on my desk from back in the day, just because you had to sign the logbook, so I've got his signature on a logbook that I bought of his Porsche. He had a Porsche Turbo. Oh my God, I had a Velar. Terrible car, Velar. Nah, terrible. It was black and I wrapped it yellow. Did look good, but that weren't good. That's not a good car, the Velar. There's an E46, an E46. An E46. Do you remember the cream Range Rover I had? That was probably the worst Range Rover colour ever. Look, you can see the finish on it. And I had my Wraith, there's my Wraith next to it. So many cars. Oh my God, I had an MSRT van. I had an MSRT van. Oh my God, I had an SLR. Look at that SLR. But you know, when I look back at cars, I think to myself, cars that I shouldn't have sold. Shouldn't have sold my SLS. Shouldn't have sold my SLR. That's a proper car. Right, let me go to another big turning point for me, the Aventador. When I was young, the dream was to have the Countach. That was the picture that I had on the wall. Obviously later on, the Aventador was like the equivalent to it. And I remember wanting to buy this, and I was at an event where we were test driving the cars, and I met Rue for the first time. I said, I want to buy an Aventador. He goes, all right then. And Rue's quite, you got to know Rue, and I didn't know Rue at the time. And Rue doesn't like time wasters. And I think he thought I was a time waster. He's like, all right then, well, I've got one. If you want to buy one, I was like, okay. He goes, yeah, I've got an orange one in London. If you want to go and see it, let me know. Go and see it. I'll do it for this price. So he gave me a discount off the car. In other words, let's be like, go on then, big I am. I was like, all right then, I'll go see the car. He's all right, let me know. And he was very like dismissive and just like, oh, here we go, just another young kid that's just chatting rubbish. And I remember going to the dealership, seeing the car, sitting, and I was like, yeah, I want this car. I remember people chatting absolute rubbish online about me. Sometimes you just want to prove a point. And I wouldn't do it now, but when people come for you online, sometimes people say, why do you care? You shouldn't bother. You're successful. But sometimes people bother you and they annoy you. So do you know what I did? And it was something that I always wanted to do. I wanted to buy a car outright with no finance. And I remember I bought my Aventador cash. When I say cash, I don't mean cash pound notes, but transferring the whole amount of money for the Aventador to Lamborghini. And that was like a real proud moment that I could afford to buy I don't even know how much it was back then, 260,000 pounds back then in 2003, cash. And that was the first car I ever bought outright. That was of value, forget a 10, 20 grand car, but I'm talking a really expensive value car. And buying this changed everything. Because having an Aventador at that time was insane. And as I said, there's points when I look at different cars like the E46, like my 458, the Revuelto, the Gallardo. This was a big turning point in my life, and this car was insane. It was like a spaceship. You didn't see any of these cars. This was a real look at me car on the road, and it was so big. And I remember picking it up. I didn't even pick it up from Lamborghini London. I went to School Road to pick it up, which was their service time, because I was so desperate to pick it up. I didn't even care about pulling off the cover or anything. I just went there and was like, yeah, I'll pick it up from here. And Rue's like, okay. Then he just shook my hand. There's a picture of it. Shook my hand. He was like, all right, see you later, Jan. And that was the start of my relationship with Rue. And then years later, me and Rue are still close. You see him do handovers now. Bought God knows how many cars from Lamborghini, HROing. And as you can see, there's like Urus, Revuelto there. But yeah, the Aventador. And then I bought loads of Aventadors after that. So that was the Aventador OG, the original one. And I bought a convertible after that, the white one, with the kit on it. I had an S coupe in grey. I had an S convertible. I had an SV convertible. My Revuelto's there, and that was a great car to buy. And that's the most expensive car I've ever bought. That Revuelto was 48,000 pounds. The most expensive car I've ever bought, and I don't even know if I'll buy a car more expensive than that again. But it never gave me the same feeling as the Aventador. Even though it's faster, the technology is better, and it did look amazing. Yeah. And yes, I've had Uruses from Gen 1. God knows how many Gen 1s I had. Then I had the Urus S. Obviously, always put the urban kits on it. I had the Perf, another Perf. The SE. Still love the Urus. Urus is a great car. God, I had a G63 AMG with the full urban kit. I had it COVID time, gloss black. Someone said to me they want to buy it, and I was like, okay, buy it. But the G63, I was never a big fan of it. I did a big video of the early ones back in the day, and people still refer to that video. I think the later ones that came out, yeah, they're still very clunky when you close the doors, but the G63 now with the urban kit looks really, really good. Sits nice and high. They're built all over the road. But yeah, just looking around at some of these cars here, obviously the Urus, the Range Rover Sport, remember? They gave it to me in red even though the car was black. And then I put the kit on it and I made it grey. This was a great car. The first edition 4.4. This was a really good car. A lot of people were moaning because it was when I was trying to buy a car. And I remember ended up buying this. I bought the Porsche Targa. And I was driving loads of different cars at the time when I test drove the LFA. Range Rover, listen, I like Range Rover. There's nothing wrong with Range Rover. Cybertruck, you lot hate this. You lot hate this car. There's a few people that love it, but the majority hate it. I am going to do something real special with my Cybertruck, and I'm going to take it abroad with me because I can't drive it in the UK. So I will be wrapping it and doing something. If you've got a cool colour you think, let me know. But yeah, I've still got my Cybertruck. Growing up, I said to my mum when I was young, I'm gonna have a Lambo one day. My mum was like, yeah, when I win the pools, I'll buy you one. Pools is like the lottery. And I ended up buying a few for myself without having to buy me one. Oh my God, I had an Escalade. Oh God, I had an Escalade. I forgot about my Escalade. See, cars are just popping into my head now. I haven't even got these written down. I had an Escalade because it was a time when Ice Cube had that video out and it was to do with the kids and he was looking after the kids. And I remember going to the cinema in the Escalade and everyone came out, they're like, oh my God, that's exactly the one from the movie. Yeah, I had an Escalade. Yeah, I totally forgot about that car. And there's definitely cars that I forgot about. I've got to have over 60 cars for sure, which is, it's a lot of cars. Is that an obsession? Am I a bit crazy with cars? Yeah, and at this moment right now, I still have quite a few cars. And the fact that I am gonna go abroad and take a few away with me, and I'll probably buy a couple of cars while I'm abroad in a hot country. But I don't know where the journey's gonna take me, what the future holds. Will I end up ever buying a hypercar? I've never owned a hypercar. Is that the next target, to get a hypercar? I think based on what country I'm in, I think that'll play a big part where I wanna be in the next year, 2 years, 5 years with cars. What advice would I give to any young people watching this video that are into cars? If you love cars, buy them, spend your money, enjoy them before you get too old and you can't have fun anymore. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you like the video. I guess I'll see you on the next one. Take care, see you later.